We are live, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, sir.
What's it like being front and center, eh?
Sure, nice being sworn.
Anyway, welcome everyone to our Public Works Urban Beautification meeting for December the 2nd. We'll call the meeting to order. Any declarations of conflict of interest? See none, thank you. Approval of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to the closed session, sir.
I don't know we have
Add
to.
something to go in? Oh,
We were,
Yeah.
I don't,
Can I
there,
ask to do the closed session
we can do that. Okay, so,
after?
we'll go right after, we'll do introduction, new business, then we'll go into close, how's that?
You have to, sorry, Mr. Chair, you probably should add it to the agenda now.
Yeah,
And saying closed session after you finish section 5. And then move into close.
okay.
Can we do that, sir? I'd like
Okay,
to
and then come back out to new business, okay, good enough. Okay, so we'll add, closed session, it's section 119,
Subsection
Section
1.
192, sorry.
Subsection 191.
1,
Subsection
119.
1, it's personnel, personal.
Oh,
So is that clear?
E, I think.
And Chair, is now the time to ask to add something to the agenda too? Or is
Yes,
that later?
yeah, no, you can add right now.
I think you and I both had the email and we both said that we'd agreed we'd bring it up at this meeting, the McGill.
I think I talked to Councillor Duffy and we thought we'd bring it up on the new business.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So that should be added to the agenda too, Mr. Chair.
What's that, sorry?
You should add that to the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, you want to have that?
So you want to add it now and just don't bring it up on the new business?
Anything you want to add now?
Okay,
add it
so
to the front.
78 McGill Avenue we'll bring up under new business.
Do you want to do it closed or
Or
open?
do you
I
wanna
just
do-
want to do it under close.
Oh, okay, well that's,
That's the item I wanted to bring up.
Right,
Is that all
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because of
I
some
wasn't-
personnel issues involved.
okay, good, so then,
Same as
It's
yours.
a different signage.
No.
okay, so we'll bring,
Same one.
okay, so we'll go into close for
Is
that
that all right,
particular.
Councillor Duff?
Yeah, particular. Okay, that's even better. Any other thing to add, guys?
No.
Good. So, I need an approval for the agenda.
Sure.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Ankoff. Adoption of the minutes, October 28th, 2020. Take a second there just to give a quick review if you haven't. I think
I'm okay with it.
you're okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any business arising from those minutes?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Chair. or Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
City entrance signs.
right?
Scott did send a template, but I think the template that we saw at Human Resources was much different for the entrance signage.
Should have been the exact signage that was approved at.
Signage, but the posts were different.
Right, and so that's the mock-up, we can do that style post, or we can do,
So there's a potential to modify these posts and the stands for them.
yes, so that was just
That's-
one revision that we thought looked really good with the black post,
Yeah.
and all that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. And I had just a question, Scott, on just an update on University Avenue, since it's in the minutes there. So the left-hand turn bit, can you
Right.
just give me a little,
Sure, we can definitely give that, so that's been an ongoing matter for a few weeks now. And part of the hiccups were, so the project was done by UPI, designed by their consultant. And the original intention was to have a median in the middle with left turn lane and 2 through lanes.
and this is on their entrance to the
Correct,
University
yeah.
Avenue?
Well, that was on that was on University Avenue to access their property, yes.
Right, okay, right, okay.
And so what ended up happening, there was an error somewhere in the design that happened that was not picked up until after construction by UPI or the consultant. So at the end of the day, in order to get it open this year, the only way to safely allow traffic traverse through this intersection while allowing left turn lane was to remove the concrete median to put the left turn lane there at that time. So that was the only way to, like I say, make it safe while still allowing the intersection to operate as it's intended to.
Okay, good. So there's no extra cost absorbed, was it for another part?
So maybe Mr. Kelly wants to speak to that, or do
My,
do you wanna-
can of worms,
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No.
No, we've had,
It's,
No.
received phone calls with that all weekend,
Yeah.
as Scott
Yeah.
knows,
Yeah.
and Mr. Kelly knows.
yeah,
And you know what, guys? It's crazy why, when it first started, and I mentioned to these two gentlemen too, we thought the whole project was gonna end on UPEI's property, but then when they jumped University Avenue, and then we had to do all these other things along that line, and my personal opinion, and I'm far from an engineer, but I thought it would have been much simpler if when we were coming north on University Avenue, just have a turning lane in there, and then turning out. You have to come out that way towards the mall, one going down.
One going
But
in,
we're
one
jumped over, we put an extra lane in, the residents are not happy, and they're pretty upset over this thing. And one guy, he gotta go all the way around Inman Crescent just to get in his own driveway. So
That's not caused by this issue.
yes it is,
No,
yes it is.
no, there's a median already there.
No, but he could still get in, he could still access his driveway, in or out, but this is.
Well, this median's gonna be gone.
Yeah, but with that extra lane and everything?
well, in the past though, there used to be hatching there, so
Right.
you could pull over there and wait until traffic comes down.
Right.
University Avenue
You
to the
can't
mall.
do that now.
No.
Can't, he'd have to sit in a through lane back in
Yeah,
the traffic
exactly.
eventually, so.
And
I
you're
don't
not
think
supposed
he's
to be sitting in
comfortable.
cross-action.
What's that?
You're not supposed to be sitting.
No, you're not.
No, you're right. And,
move on.
and I'll just close on this, anyway, it's just that the other two homes are not too bad, as Mr. Adams and Mr. Kelly and I went over there yesterday. But the gentleman in the middle, he gotta go all the way around Inman Crescent and then head south to get back in the driveway.
Okay.
So,
So he, having discussed that with the man in Public Works, the gentleman can still turn, but he
Mhm.
can still stall traffic going
Yeah.
straight, so
And I
it's very
think-
dangerous.
it's an option, but hopefully he'll do what he can, make sure that to stay safe. The other issue on the outcome is that we had to meet with UPEI, the consultant did the design, and the city, to bring the matter to resolve. There was no problem, with there had been a minor adjustment. We think it's around 12,000 to 20,000 cost that may be split three ways, and that would be fine.
So the split, University of Prince Edward Island, Coles Associates in the city. But I want to say that the engineer, our engineer Scott Adams, was pushing his professionalism on this issue because of the pedestrian refuge. Normally, I think the guidelines, TAC, the Transportation Association of Canada guidelines is that anything 5 lanes plus, you have to install a pedestrian refuge.
It's-
Now we have 6 lanes because there's going to be a dedicated right turn into Charlottetown Rural. There'll be 2 throughways and a left turn into UPEI and two outgoing northbound lanes on the other side. So we've taken a 5 lane and turned it into a 6 lane. No fault of our engineer.
no, I'm not blaming our.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just that we tried to work with the university how many times, Scott, Mr. Kelly? And this has been going on for several months. And I thank the engineer, Scott Adams, for saying, look, if we have to make this work, I have to compromise, let's get it done. The other option was to leave 1 lane, throughway and left turn, similar to what they had at the end of Kensington Road on the bypass. Remember that turn?
Yeah.
You're coming over the ridge and middle of the highway, here's a car turning into Parkwood Estates, like
Yeah.
death trap or what?
Okay.
This is gonna avoid it. So again, thanks to the engineer, Mr. Kelly, who attended the meeting
Okay.
to try to settle the issue, and I think it's settled, and I believe it'll be better for the university, better for the city, but not all the neighbors. will
Yeah,
say
but we
that.
have to stop bowing, I guess I'm getting personal with this thing. We gotta stop bowing to these other institutions, because as I said, when it was first drawn up, nobody knew it was gonna jump over University Avenue where these homes are. Until Mr. Adams and I think Mike, you were chair at the time, Yep. we went out and looked at it too. Yep. And it was new to you at that time, and we just said, whoa, what's going on? So then we met with the residents 2 or 3 times, right there, and UPEI promised all this stuff that it wasn't gonna affect anything, and then all of a sudden the wheels fell off the cart here, somewhere along the line. Well, so I'm just trying to satisfy this
So
resident.
no fault of ours.
City
No.
engineer.
Oh, no. And personally, I'd like to thank Mr. Adams because him and I have been exchanging emails with these residents, Mr. Kelly, you know, we just want to keep this as safe as
I don't
possible.
always agree with each other, but in this one we did.
And on this project was born from TI other than this
Yeah.
minor.
But, anyway, I appreciate everybody's
Yeah.
information because I was a little cloudy on the issue.
It's an ongoing
And I'm
process,
glad-
I
I'm
guess.
glad I did ask the question, so, again.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Scott, for your hard work. Any other business arising from the minutes? None? Okay. Reports.
Do you want to move into close now?
Do we want to go into close? I thought we
Just
were
leave it
gonna-
open.
We'll stay in open and then go into close.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
I don't mind leaving it
Yeah,
open.
leave it open, yeah.
People may be watching.
Okay,
Yeah.
now, on the agenda, would be item 6,
Yes.
or the 7A would go into closed
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do 7A, closed session. Okay, so, along with Avenue Houston Street intersection, proposed changes, Mr. Adams.
Absolutely, thank you, Chair. So if you all turn to the 11, single page 11 by 17 photo there. So we've been working with our consulting engineer on a number of large projects, looking at how we can improve traffic flows in and around those various intersections of the city. One of the intersections that was on the document we reviewed and come up with some viable solutions for improving traffic flows and also increasing safety at West Kent's Corner or along North Avenue, Houston Street. So we looked at 3 potential options. One was a roundabout here. Because we do have truck traffic going through this area, we can't, I know some people probably believe there is a potential for like a button like out on Cap, or on Brackwood Point Road, thank you. For truck traffic and all that, it just did not work. So if we actually put in a properly sized roundabout, we would have had to buy a apartment building, which I don't think anyone's in the business of doing that. So that idea was nixed. We looked at a second option, again, due to configuration and land we need to have to buy, wouldn't work, and that option was trying to realign Longworth Avenue to square up the intersection and make it a proper T intersection. Again, that one we would have had to buy 2 apartment buildings. So again, there's no, we're very restricted on how much right of way we have here. So our consultant looked at traffic flows, traffic volumes in this area, and based on the, where some of the traffic is coming and going from and the volume of traffic, we settled on this proposal to bring forward to council to review and get your opinion and comments on. So how the revision would work would traffic coming down Longworth Avenue, if you're heading towards downtown on Houston Street, you would have a nice through lane. You do not have to yield to any oncoming traffic. It's just free flow for those individuals. Again, if you're coming down along Longworth Avenue and you want to head to Weymouth, you can head straight through. You will not be able to make a left turn to Houston Street, the residential area of Houston Street. There's very, very little movement in that direction when we did some traffic counts. And again, people can come down Weymouth and go around the block. So we thought that was a very good option there. Individuals coming out of the residential side of Houston Street, so they will be able to turn up onto Longworth Avenue. Again, there wasn't a high volume of traffic on Houston Street that were heading towards continuing through the intersection down Houston Street down to downtown. Again, most of those people are trying to get downtown so they could go down the block and come across to Weymouth and get around. Again, anyone coming up Weymouth, their main goal usually when we saw with the traffic counts, they were trying to head north onto Longworth. So again, we eliminated that left turn because the goal was to try to square that approach up as well as you possibly can with the Longworth Avenue north approach. Because when you design an intersection, you want to be your car square to the intersection so that you have good visibility of all the approaching angles from you. And then the vehicles that are coming on Houston Street, coming from the downtown area, they have full motion. They can go left, right, or through from this area. And so again, we came to this option based on looking on truck traffic in the area. We know we have the ADL farm. They can easily get in, they should be able to easily get in and out from what we understand for their traffic patterns in the area. Any other truck traffic, they're either coming Longworth Euston or Euston to Longworth because they're not supposed to be in the residential side of Euston Street. So yeah, so we looked this, and this is the best option that we could figure out without having to purchase any significant amount of land at all. I think other than it's one little small corner on the Euston Longworth Avenue area, just in front of A1 Vacuum, there's just a very small little corner that we may be on private property. Again, we have to do legal surveys to confirm all the pins, but that would be about the only spot we're on private property, just a very small little piece. Everything else was able to fit in within the public right away. So that was one of our goals. So this is the proposal for it to improve this intersection. Everyone's well aware it is a bit of a, from a traffic safety standpoint, it is a concerning intersection. It's very confusing. Locals know how to drive it very well, but we're a tourist hotbed, and I've seen a number of out-of-province plates, especially in the summer months. They do not know how to approach this intersection. It's an unusual intersection that's not anywhere near standards at the moment. So,
Former city councilor used to say this corner is so confusing it's safe. So everybody was scared to move, so nobody got hurt.
This is true.
So I have a question, and then I'll open up to anyone else too as well. Just with the flow of children coming from Birchwood to get to Ken's Corner, the kind of angled sidewalk, you don't foresee that, like, you know, are they going to start hanging out on that island? Like that'd be
it's a fair size island for pedestrians as a pedestrian refuge to stand and wait. The nice thing about this sign is, again, they're reducing the amount of time they're in the roadway. So you go across one lane and then you cross two more lanes.
Yeah.
And the nice thing how it's set up here as well is when you cross so your first crossing, if you're in front of the apartment building heading over to the mills there, then you only have to cross one directional lane of traffic. So
like that.
you only have to worry about that. And then when you come across the next crossing, again, it's only one directional traffic that you're worrying about. So it's I shouldn't say very safe, but it's a safe option.
takes away the wide berth
Correct.
of trying to
yes.
get across
Yes.
multiple lanes.
It's a goal when you design an intersection, you're designing pedestrian crossings, you want to minimize that time that they're within the driving lanes.
Do you have a question, Councilor?
Yep, thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
It looks good. It's not going to increase, is it, any traffic flow on Weymouth, is it? Because I know that Weymouth is you're not allowed to have big trucks on there. And I know you mentioned something, people could always turn down Weymouth and take a next block down.
Right.
So are we increasing?
So we don't see any increase in truck traffic at all, because Weymouth is not a trucking route by any means. Truck traffic, the bulk of the traffic when they did the traffic counts were still going Longworth to Euston towards downtown core. In terms of any increase, it would be minor and it's mostly for the individuals that would live in the Euston area. Because this is going to actually cut down on people trying to cut through Euston Street, which is the residential area, or sorry, I should say the residential side of Euston Street, because that's what people like to do. So the goal of improving the intersection, in theory, when you improve traffic flows at an intersection, it actually attracts people, because we're telling you this is the fast route to get downtown. We want you to come down here. Continue down Longworth to Euston Street and get downtown quicker than trying to go through neighborhoods.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we don't expect to see any large increase in traffic on Weymouth Street. We do expect to see some more traffic on the Longworth and Euston Street, because we're, like I say, trying to attract people to come here, use this intersection, because now you from Longworth to Euston, you have the right of way.
But not on the Euston, not on the
residential side. No, exactly.
That's been a real traffic issue too, speeding.
Exactly, absolutely. So it should definitely restrict that, because you don't have that through traffic movement from Euston through Euston Street. Yeah.
Thank you.
Another question, I guess, so has there been any consultation yet with with ADL and A1 vacuum yet?
Not yet. So this is, again, we want to bring it to the committee level first to see if this is a viable option that you guys don't have any great concerns about. And then we will move out to that phase and engage the local businesses. Because yeah, it really, we have three major, businesses that are impacted. You got the Mel's, of course, you have the ADL, and then you have the A1 vacuum. So we will definitely be engaging with those individual landowners to show them this plan and to confirm that it doesn't have any severe negative impact on how they.
The A1 vacuum might be more of a pushback
Yeah.
than anybody, because they don't have hardly any room to pull in there.
Right.
You know, to pick up parcels or
Well,
anything like
they actually do,
that. They're right on the corner, in fact, right?
yeah, they have two entrances, right, that they use for tractor trailers. One is on Houston and the other's on Longworth.
But the nice thing with this now is we've really taken this residential side of Houston Street along in their front of their business. And we're really slowing down traffic now and reducing traffic. So we could permit more on-street parking on that side
On
of
that
Houston
side.
Street.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
looking at that, I probably
Yeah.
would. Probably help. Okay. No,
So we do have some options in our back
Yeah.
pocket to try to work
Okay.
with these business owners.
Okay.
That's the goal, is to try to make it safer, but also, work with the affected property owners.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
so
Mr. Mayor.
Houston going east to west, will there be any traffic, or is all the traffic just going west to east?
So,
See where,
yep.
where you have the island there?
Mhm.
That takes out any possibility of catching the laneway, well, actually, the other island on Longworth and Houston Street West. Take out any possibility of traffic coming east, going west of Houston.
So, no, there isn't.
So there will be direct.
There'll be
directions.
direct. So if you're coming from the east
ADL.
side, yeah, from ADL, your only option is to turn onto Longworth. We
Yeah,
will
so
not
you-
permit Houston, that through traffic movement to Houston Street.
So that means you stop and just turn right onto Longworth. There'll be no through traffic.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
It'd be great.
Yep.
Which is one of the more confusing problems there. Like the way the lights were now, it's very confusing as to whether you're supposed to go or not.
Yeah.
Because it is confusing, yeah.
And people go so fast once they
Oh, yeah.
take up speed and go down to
It was,
Houston.
I tell you, we went back and forth on this intersection quite a few times.
Oh,
because
yeah. Well,
It is a
it's
very unusual
not your average
intersection.
intersection.
So there was a lot of research done,
Yeah.
a lot of adjusting to try to make it all fit, and I was very pleased where we ended up at the end of the day.
Okay.
But if I look at it, Scott, that's slip lane from Longworth Avenue.
Yep.
Right, and then the throughway lane down to Weymouth. You could, like, do you need that slip lane there? Could that slip lane not become part of the throughway lane from coming east off Longworth east off Longworth Avenue, going south onto Weymouth or west on Houston?
So the reason why we want the splitter island there and get that flow, that is the bulk of the traffic, especially during most times of the day, but a lot of that traffic is going along with Houston, so we want to keep that flowing very well. And there's very little traffic that comes out of the residential Houston side that tries to go down Houston. And again, most of those are not local drivers. So
Coming east off Houston.
because a lot of the, there is some residential area, of course, so some of those individuals would have to go down a block and come across. But a lot of them are cutting through, they're coming through from some of the side streets, getting on St. Peter's Road or Kensington Road earlier and trying to cut through to avoid traffic. And so we're actually improving the traffic flow and the quality of life for the residents that live on that street, because now they're not gonna have, their traffic volume should be reduced because they're not having that through movement on Houston Street. So it's a good traffic calming safety
It's
measure
a
as
big
well.
change for that neighborhood, I know that.
Yep.
So, if you're coming from the Hillsborough Bridge and you come in Grafton and you turn onto Edward Street,
Yeah.
probably 75% of that will turn onto Fitzroy probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, and then, and then
Head west.
they would only, they can go right, but they wouldn't be able to go through the intersection, which is kind of causing some of the problems. Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So your throughway traffic coming east of Houston from, like say, the
Wherever,
comments,
yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
at least Les Redmond,
Hmm.
she won't be, they won't be able to drive up to
No.
Euston. Unless they wanna just right on to
Mm.
Longworth Avenue.
Yeah, but they do have the option of going up Cumberland,
Yeah,
right,
correct.
on the Longworth, and then there's, you know, so that's not, yeah, oh yeah, there is options here. Okay,
So what's the deal on this? Are we just,
Yeah, so-
Is this just preliminary?
It is, but I mean, if you're supportive, then it'll probably become part of the discussion on the capital budget for next year. Scott, I believe that was your intent.
Yes, this will be probably on the docket for capital budget to look at.
We have a
Does it-
ballpark cost of what this may cost.
So this is,
$1 million,
the
isn't it?
preliminary was $1 million at the moment. And so there are some minor changes that they recommended that we could make for the next couple, like to some adjustments to some signal pointing and some signage that we can make to get us through for a couple of years. So it's not a, my goal with a lot of these signs are, if they don't get approved in the next year, that's what I fully understand, because we have capital budget restrictions and there's other major projects that we want to get off the ground. But it's nice to have these plans in place so that we can have these discussions, take our time, make sure it's right. And then in a year or two, we can say, we have this project shelf ready, it's ready to go, and here's some funding. So,
So in interim, as part of those interim adjustments, the lighting there is very dim.
Yeah,
It's hard to
correct.
see, but it's green, red, yellow, or
Yep.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those small things, I think that would help. alleviate
absolutely,
some
yep.
issues.
And those are some of the options that we do have some budget in this year budget.
The lighting is
that-
poor.
Yeah, that is, that we can make those updates over the winter months. Yep.
And you probably heard this, Councilor McLeod, but that crossing from the north side of Euston, Longworth Avenue to Ken's Corner to the south side, a lot of near misses, especially the traffic
Yes.
that's turning left,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's turning east or
Yeah.
west onto Euston
Yeah.
Street.
Yep.
There are always people, and that's by shortening up, I like the idea of that island there,
Yeah.
pedestrian refuge, whatever you wish to call it.
Mhm.
That shortens the distance, as we know, is what's happening down on Great George and Fitzroy,
Yeah.
and what's happening up by the old 1911 jail.
I know, like, the near miss is like when a car is gonna turn left onto Longworth, coming from Houston, like downtown, they'll stop to let the little one go by, even though they're probably in the wrong, but then they don't see the guy coming straight through, that's coming right.
And that's part of the problem too, is because of the
Yeah.
angles. So the goal is always to be at least square to the intersection.
Yeah.
The more skew that your vehicle is to opposing traffic, the harder it is
The
to see.
harder it is, yeah.
So what you start to see now too with a lot of designs, they start having, so this is a slip lane, so they're having what they call smart channel slip lane. So if you drive in a lot of other cities, you know, they have slip lanes and you're about, I want to say 45 degrees to the traffic. Well, smart channels, they actually square you more up to about 70 degrees. And the reason is for that is for people with neck injuries or people who are seniors,
You don't-
they have a hard time turning neck. As you get older, you have a harder time moving.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. So what they were finding through research was a lot of the aging population could not get shoulder checks. So they were getting a lot of T-bone collisions
Right.
because they couldn't see the blind spot.
Eliminate some of the blind spots.
Exactly. So that is
Yeah.
one of the biggest problems right now with this intersection is individuals can't, you know, even for me, I have to fully
Kevin
wrap
has lots of
around.
issues.
And now you're forgetting about pedestrian traffic and you're just looking for the gaps. So, yeah.
No, I like that idea, I do.
Okay.
Again,
So-
for the interim, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
it's just that crossing from north of Longworth, Houston to Ken's Corner, and you can look at that as something that we can correct.
well, yeah, that was one of my
Maybe
questions,
it's lighting, more lighting.
yeah. And
Yeah,
and
and those
this,
are, so they, like I say, they have some recommendations for us to make
Yeah.
some improvements in the short term,
Yeah.
which we're going to be working at.
yeah, so is it possible, like, some of this could be done in stages?
Yeah, some could be done in stages. We could try to.
Like the Houston Street one,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, we could look at, obviously, some of the things without doing a full-blown upgrade. We could look at
Yeah.
implementing, so those, remember the traffic calming devices that
Yeah.
I showed previously at previous committee meetings, the big yellow kind of islands. We could set those up here in this fashion to try to show people how it could work. And then if we like it over a year or two after leaving those in, we could then say, okay, we are going to
Permanent.
a permanent installation, correct?
Perfect. So do we wanna kind of give approval here to, no?
Well,
Just-
with your concurrent to allow it to go through.
Yeah,
further
just that the
discussion.
committee's in favor
Yeah.
of moving it forward.
Sounds good, that's fantastic.
Okay, so, everyone's in favor, I assume.
Sure.
So we don't need a resolution, right? So we're good, so you've got the okay in that. University Avenue Master Plan, Scott.
Just before you go, I like the new words there on page 4, improvements to signal conspicuity, what is it?
Where are you at?
Page 4?
Conspicuity, I like that. See where it says improvements to signal?
Conspicuity, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every word for you, Kat.
Reading the Webster.
I do. Put on my phone.
Yeah, I got on one. All right, go ahead, Mr. Adams.
Thank you. So another big plan on the go, again, this is kind of one of these plans that we would like to have, is to have in our back pocket as we go to improve various parts of our city. We'd like to have an image or a master plan for various parts so that, hate going back and doing something twice. So if we're in there upgrading an intersection or upgrading a section of road, like to incorporate a overall vision for this area. And so that's what we're trying to achieve here with the University Avenue Master Plan. It is quite a large, extensive, bold project, and it's going to take a number of years to ever implement it. But if we don't start somewhere and have a plan, then it's not a great way to start off a project. So again, we've been working with EXP, our engineering consultant, on this project. So this is a preliminary plan showing what it could look like. So I wanted to bring this here to the committee again today, just to show you where we are spending our dollars on engineering fees and some of the work they're doing, and also get some input or answer any questions that you may have. And so how it's broken up, the top, page 1, the very top image is starting at Belvedere Avenue and University Avenue. So you got the old subway there. These are slightly older aerials, of course, because now it's Blaze Pizza or whatever. So it does start up there with some changes to that intersection. Belvedere and University Avenue is a very large intersection. I believe we have something along the lines of 20 to 25,000 vehicles per day that go through that intersection. It is, according to our recent traffic study as part of this project, it does fail. It is not, our level of services are not where they should be. So they have suggested a number of changes to help improve the traffic flow, implementing a number of right turn lanes, slip lanes, and medians to help keep everyone flowing better. One thing you'll also notice along the east side, I guess, or top portion of each picture, you'll see a dark line or dark paved pathway. So as we've talked before, the east side of University Avenue, we see that as a great opportunity to change that over and make it a multi-use pathway. So walkers, cyclists, anyone can use that side. That gets them out of the roadway. And and although I know some people have asked me, we have the trail right next door to it. The trail is great because people want to get downtown very quickly and get on the trail, and it's very scenic and very pretty. But a lot of the daily commuters, you on your way home, you want to stop and get a couple groceries. You want to stop at the convenience store, stop at the gym. So those users, the trail's not efficient for them. All our businesses are on University Avenue. Everywhere that people want to get to or any businesses is on University Avenue. So that combined with the busing system with our buses that have the bike racks, it's fantastic. You can bus in town with your bike, you can get off on your bike at the mall and do all your business on your way to work or back home, whichever way you want to do. So that's what part of this plan was replacing that sidewalk with a multi-use pathway. On the west side, we would still keep the concrete sidewalk, so solely pedestrians, of course, on this side. And then again, just addressing traffic flows and aesthetics. We wanted to create some boulevards between the sidewalks and the pathways and the roadway. It's probably everyone drives University Avenue practically every day. When someone's walking on the sidewalk, especially when you get down to Nassau Street, that sidewalk's right on top of the lanes. And when you see people walking and getting close to that edge, you never know when someone's going to step a foot down off that sidewalk. So for a safety standpoint, you want to have a bit of buffer, and green space is an excellent thing to do that. That also allows us to have trees, shrubbery, and again, improve the appearance of this entry to the downtown core. So we've also gone through and added a few new intersections. So one you'll see on the very top photo here, you'll see where the RCMP barracks are. So we are recommending adjusting their entrance that currently comes out and doesn't, comes out with a bus shelter sign showing now. We'd adjust that to line up very well with the entrance to the Superstore complex that's right by Indigo. And we recommend putting a signal there for a couple reasons. One, it improves bus traffic flow. So right now the buses, if they're heading uptown on University Avenue, as Councillor Ramsey can attest to, buses have to cut across, come into the parking lot by Indigo, and then try to get out, back out on University Avenue traffic during the PM peak. It's a nightmare. They have to inch until someone finally gives in. So that would improve transit for the city, of course. And then it just allows a good connection, again, from the trail to, this is a high business area, the Superstore, Indigo, all that, the gym's there, allows that traffic to, pedestrian traffic to move across the avenue quite easily. If we make that change, we would close off, or we would put a median across the current main entrance to the Superstore, and that would just restrict that left turn movement. There's no need for traffic that are heading up the avenue towards the mall to make a left-hand turn across traffic to go to Burger King or Superstore. They can come through this intersection, signalize the intersection, and make their way through the road network that's on the property. So then the bottom picture down is just a continuation. We make our way down to Nassau Street. Again, it's just minor adjustments to some of the road alignments, to the street line adjustments, and the placement of sidewalks. Getting that green buffer in between the sidewalk and the roadway, and same with the Active Trail and the roadway as well.
Sure. One, Scott, is there regulations or is there policies or something that you shouldn't be putting traffic lights too close to each other? Or is, I don't know, I just, like
there's recommendations.
You don't want to stop.
Core.
Stop, right?
So what we would do in such a situation is what we would say, we'd have them communicate with each other. And so essentially they're hardwired together through Ethernet cables. And so what they do is, so say you're heading uptown and you get stopped at the new lights of the barracks, the RCMP barracks. You get the green light. So you start going, and what the goal is, as you approach this intersection, then that will turn green. So it helps keep that flow going well. So yes, there are recommendations of the close proximity to each other, but there are ways around it. And again, it's communicating with each other and having those signals programmed accordingly to make.
No, I think it's a great idea, like, especially for the transit, because that's very dangerous when they gotta cut in.
Yeah.
And if they can just stop right there, because we talked about that for years.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're leaving Burger King, you have one, and your new set of lights is two,
Yeah.
Tim Hortons is three,
Yeah.
Sobeys is four.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of traffic lights.
And the goal would be, again, is to sync them all.
Yes.
So that there's better, because right now they are running what we call independently, or they're floating all their own. So they're just on a
Cycle.
They're on a cycle. They have so many seconds of green, yellow, red for each direction. And then there's other parameters you add in. So, you say you usually give someone a minimum 15 seconds of green, but there's still a good flow of traffic. We'll extend that green for 10 seconds. So they're floating, where what you can do is you synchronize them so that during the AMP, kind of what we've done on North River Road, that we have to readjust when we open Capitol Drive up. But in the morning peak, there's time so that when you go in, you should almost be getting green at every single one. So that flow keeps going.
Okay.
Same thing as what the goal would be here at the end of the day is the flow would be nice so that when you're getting out of town in the afternoon, very minimal delay, help improve that flow of traffic.
What I like here too is when you're coming out the avenue and you come to the KFC corner there where you have the intersection, some people go in that left lane knowing very well that they want to turn left into, say, Smitty's, like, for example.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden the car stops, so then this would prevent you from all that going right left, right left, right left.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It would keep, so you need to know to get in the left lane if you want to go into wherever you're going in that area, you would have to get in the left lane by Tim Hortons.
Exactly, absolutely.
Right, so that, I can see that really adding safety there, for sure.
So you turn the page so we can make our way down the avenue. So we are getting towards Kirkwood Allen Street. So again, some shifting of some lanes is recommended to help improve the flow of traffic, of course. And oh, by the way, sorry, I should probably give you another piece. So we also looked at 3 years of collision data. So my summer students have been busy doing that this past year. They went through the paper records of every accident since 2017 and documented in a spreadsheet and tracking locations. And at the Belvedere and University Avenue, I think in 3 years, we had something like, I think it was something like 70 collisions, which is very, very high. So just another reason why we would like to start upgrading some of these intersections around town, because they were never designed to handle the traffic that they are handling.
And plus, it might slow some of the traffic down a little bit with more lights, because like some days, it's a speed track there, right?
Right, yeah.
Like they'll leave by Burger King and they're heading in town,
Oh, they punch
and you see them over, or vice versa if they're going out, and they just seem to walk on it once they get going, right?
The goal is it's going to keep them at a consistent speed. So the goal is we time them so that you can drive 45 kilometers an hour, typically is wait time. So you get green, green, green. So
Right.
it keeps they keep the same speed, they keep moving, but they keep a consistent speed, which is great versus the 50, 70, 60. That's when you start getting accidents, because people are driving at various speeds. So that's what we try to platoon, we call them. Keep them in groups, you release them from with a green light, and you keep them going.
Okay.
So again, yeah, Allen and Kirkwood, want to do some changes there, of course, just to help with traffic flow. There's a significant volume of right turners coming down University Avenue on Kirkwood, so that's why we recommended having a right turn slip lane there. As you move down the avenue and get down towards Eden and Summer Street, you show that we've turned now to 3 lanes, so the middle lane will be alternating left turn lanes with 2 through movements. And then the next kind of big change is Pond Street. So we've looked at Pond Street. It has been a hot topic. Councillor Tweel has always been about this one. So we have designed Pond Street as part of this project, or another phase of this whole engineering study. But Pond Street itself, due to volumes of pedestrians, traffic and pedestrians, the analysis says that a traffic signal would benefit this area. We have a high volume of pedestrians crossing, and then just the sheer volume of traffic there. The liquor store is a big contributor to that, I think. It is a very busy area, a lot of traffic in and out of Pond Street, surprisingly. I was quite surprised when I saw the number. So the warrants do say it would be recommended at some point in the future that we might want to look at a traffic signal at that location.
Scott,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, come on, go ahead.
So is the traffic, Scott, do you have numbers for pedestrian traffic on Pond
Yeah.
Street?
Yeah, we do. I don't have that.
No, I know, but
yet.
is it more significant than pedestrian crossing from the west side of University Avenue to go to the east side, let's say Swiss Chalet, and then heading north or south of University? Where's the pedestrian traffic going?
So-
Is it continuing down Pond? Or is it
A
going-
lot of it is, we're seeing a high volume, especially around the lunch hour, is when
Right.
the big one is. And I'm not sure so essentially they're coming from the school down Pond Street.
Right.
Some are obviously staying on the east side or west side, sorry, going to Swiss Chalet, everything. But some are going to the north side. We got the King of Donaire there. Not too far away, you have the what's the other pizza place? Dino's is not
Right.
convenient. So there's a lot of traffic that's going, pedestrian traffic going to get through that area.
So,
And that's really what put
Yeah.
us over the tipping
Right.
point when we run the calculations. There's a system that you
For a
calculate.
signalized intersection?
Correct, yeah, and yes.
because we're gonna force the pedestrian more or less like to walk right straight up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that sidewalk's gonna go right past Swiss Chalet, or
Correct, yeah.
the side of Swiss Chalet.
Yeah, that same side
Or
of
you
Swiss
said,
Chalet,
yeah,
and cross right
yeah,
there,
and then you would cross there.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
So that's the goal,
Yeah.
is people
And-
start
And so
encouraging.
is there any concern, I mean, there's not much to do, but coming to the liquor store entrance there, Oak Tree?
Yeah, this is the parking, how they park there.
Yeah.
It is a concern, and those are some of the options we're looking at right now, how to work with that. So that area of Pond Street hasn't been finalized yet.
Right,
because we're
that
trying
is
to
the
figure
bottleneck there.
It is, and it's a bit of concern because you don't want that number of vehicles backing out over a sidewalk.
Right.
It's always a concern.
Yeah,
It's going to take a lot of work working with the property owners.
Yes.
Because they have a right, because they were approved to build that way since day one.
right,
So then we have to either somehow work with them to give them options for parking elsewhere or come up with some solution. Because they can claim loss of business, which has been played out of courts around North America. So it's something that we're keeping in mind and will be, as we get to a state with our Pond Street design that we're happy with it, and we will approach that business owner and figure out an option for that.
So, Mr. Chair, just a
Yes.
supplementary question. So, the traffic that goes into Papa Joe's, the restaurant, that backs out too.
It does, yep,
So
So-
that would be a problem for that signal.
No, because we have enough room to put a curb line in there, yeah. So they have enough room to put a curb line in there and then force them out one driveway area.
And
Yeah.
what about the proposed sidewalk going on the north side of Pond Street from University
Well,
to
that's-
Queen? Is that still, I know
Yeah,
just,
that's still on the docket for the design.
because
for
that's the
Pond Street.
concern,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
encourage
Yeah.
backing out.
Yeah,
but anyway, okay, no, at least it's a step in the right direction, that's for sure.
So one other point about Mr. Chair, it's also intended to underground.
Yes,
with,
thank you.
the lights, so you're gonna change the light fit, the light fixtures,
Mhm.
put the conduit underground, that's the intent.
yeah.
Over what period of time, is it a 10-year project or more?
So they're still working on budgetary right now. So once we have more of those numbers, and that's why I wanted to bring this to you guys at this phase, in case there's anything that was alarming that anyone around this room may see. We wanted to make sure that those changes were implemented in this preliminary budgeting number. So they're still working on that right now, and I should have more information in the next month on what we're looking at for an overall budgetary number for this project.
And this also includes enhanced vegetation of trees, shrubs, and
Absolutely, yeah.
as well?
Yep, exactly, and you guys will see in the next, when I bring my next update, we'll have some plan renderings, what I call them, so essentially you'll see how the sidewalk, the lanes, the boulevards, all that looks, looking at it from a cross-section cut, yeah. So we'll have some of those renderings ready for next meeting, hopefully, as well, that's the goal.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
clear as mud.
So the last page is where we
So, yeah, the
get
last-
into the sort of the heart of
Exactly,
The area.
yep. So again,
old Providence burial ground.
so we've been able to maintain
properties down there.
Exactly. So we've been able to maintain some green space, a green space buffer between the roadway and the pathways and the sidewalk, which is fantastic to keep that again aesthetically pleasing. It allows us a good spot to put lighting, street lighting, and such, and just keeps that safety buffer between the pedestrians and the drivers. We've also been able to maintain some parking in front of some key businesses along the way that currently still have
That's very
parking.
important.
Yeah.
Exactly, so we've been able to, I
point.
believe that's Active Island where I'm reserving University there.
Yeah.
Said Tweel Stores.
Correct, they have a couple parking spots in there now, we've been able to make sure there's 2 parking spots on University Avenue. Same with in front of the laundromat, I believe, is that a little.
Oh, right, yeah.
So,
That's the laundromat near the corner of Bayfield.
yes,
Bayfield.
exactly, Bayfield and University, of course, yeah. I think there's 3, yes, they've allocated 3 parking spaces there.
But they have a parking lot inside.
Yeah, right, but we do, but like.
They want that on-street parking.
They still have on-street parking
Right in,
now,
right out.
so we like to try to maintain that best we can. And then we get down to, once you get to Passmore Street, we do lose our buffer just because we're tied up against buildings and there's not much we can do there. And one thing we did change here, and the transit's quite pleased with that, is we did have a bus pullover area in front of the, I forget what they always call it now, it used to be the old Prince Edward restaurant.
Yes.
There's a bit of a bus pull
Asian
off spot
restaurant.
there.
Oh, no,
Correct.
that's the cuisine, yeah.
So that way it's a big spot, I guess, for pickup and drop offs there. And so that way we did not want them impacting traffic flows while they're waiting to load or unload. So that will make a big change for traffic flows at that intersection.
So when we get into the cycle lane, like, so there's still gonna be room there as you come into the avenue for cycling?
The goal, there will still be, at the upper portion, there'll still be a bit of a shoulder, but the intent is to get everyone on the active trail.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
We
would
want-
be, Scott, would that be 1.4 meters or 1.5 meters wide?
We are, I believe down here, we're able to keep 8 feet.
8 feet.
I think so, I think that was
Oh,
the
that'd be
measurement, I remember
So you're up
correctly.
to two
We
plus
would be,
meters.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a good
That's
size.
good, that's
Yeah,
good.
8 feet is like, if you want to keep two-way bike traffic, that's really one of the minimums.
But this is
8,
not
9
just
feet.
cycling, this is walking.
Active.
Correct, yep,
It's an active shared
yeah,
pathway.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And as
perfect.
Mr. Kelly said, we would be looking at underground wiring for lighting.
For a good chunk of it, yes, absolutely. Underground utilities are very expensive. they're
Oh, I know,
everywhere.
I know.
And especially when we get closer to the heart of like where the business area of the university, one of the big challenges is the transformer issues.
Yeah.
Right now, they're all on poles. There's some big transformers out there. So that is part of the area where they're not struggling with the budget, but it's taking more time to figure that out. How would we power some of these buildings if we change their transformer locations, things like that.
Yeah.
So they are going to come back to us with kind of two options. One, here's everything solely underground. B, we'll take the lower portion of University Avenue, put that underground,
Okay.
and then a combination for the rest of University Avenue.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that
Yeah.
if you're gonna start the project, we'll
Yeah.
be starting from Houston and University, right?
I would,
Or
we'd
do you wanna
have,
start at the north end?
I would have to look at it, because we do have some concerns with the traffic
Light
up
in-
at Belvedere in University
That
Avenue.
intersection isn't
It's
there.
pretty, and so we might, for intersection upgrades, we might jump around a little bit.
The reason I ask,
Yeah.
Scott, because this is the trunk, the main
Yeah.
trunk for the transit
Absolutely.
system.
Yeah.
As you said, it's the
Mhm.
busiest road in the city.
Yeah.
The most traffic, and you can say that for pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic.
Yeah.
Plus, being a main entry point,
Mhm.
during the campaign, some of the business owners that have business, here we have a principal entry into the city, and it looks like a secondary street, but it's not a secondary pathway, it's a primary road into the city. So I'm just asking if we could look at starting from Houston and maybe both ends, but this early section from Houston to Allen, Kirkwood, I put my
And I
Biggest
know,
effort there.
I can tell you, we have been delaying asphalt down this end because we knew we were trying to get this project off the ground. Again, we're trying to eliminate doing some work and then coming back a year or two later and ripping it up. So the goal is, that's what we want to try. So
Yeah.
again, we'll have to look at all the optics, all the
It's probably,
costs and, yeah.
A phased process.
Exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's gonna be significant.
Yeah.
But yes, it would be a phased approach.
And one last point, Councillor Yankoff, if you look at that corner, Belvedere and University, on the south side, that's 6 lanes. And how many accidents did you record for that corner?
70.
I believe it was 70 over 3 years. I have to double check my number, but I thought it was something like 70. So a significant amount of accidents.
Pedestrian and vehicle.
Yes, yeah. It would be anything that that the police would have responded to.
Thank you.
I'd have to double check my
And
number.
and
but I
just,
think that's what
and
it
just a
was.
point to make too, with the Belvedere Avenue, the active transportation part is a real plus. That's one thing we did find out
Yeah.
during the Fitzroy Street process, when cyclists came in to talk, that was one of the roads that they found to be one of the more dangerous roads,
And
is Belvedere Avenue. So,
what we would also do too at Belvedere is from the new trail from this new AT trail that we're proposing, pathway, I should say, call it on University Avenue,
Right.
we would look at extending the trail up to the existing trail that runs down, just so that you have that good connection
Oh,
between
good,
the
good.
avenue
Yeah.
and the trail.
yeah.
Yeah.
On the north end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we even, we're promoting the cycling now, the demos and all that stuff is at the farm center, right?
Yeah.
Or the farmer's market. So, if we wanna have the cycling, tell people to come there, we better have some support.
Right,
Get them
yeah, to
there.
get them there nice and safely, yeah.
Thank you very much for that, that's awesome.
Sounds like got this best.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
And maybe this is slightly off topic, but not really when we're looking at cleanup and making things
Of course.
look presentable to the city, is as part of this university master plan, basically from Houston up to probably Granville or maybe a little further up, maybe up to even as far as Passmore and Bishop. There's some burnt down buildings and, I mean, no disrespect to the burnt down buildings, but it looks like a bit of a dog's breakfast. Like, are those not things we could look at for, you know, unsightly premises that the owners of those buildings not in the short term have to get those things cleaned up?
We
So
can
Madam Chair,
definitely,
they have been referred to bylaw enforcement, they have been addressing them on a case-by-case basis, and they continue to keep them safe and out of harm's way.
There's been some movement.
But how long is the building allowed to be boarded up?
There
Right.
is no time frame in our current bylaws, as long as they're not able to be intruded, and that they are kept safe. There's no prescribed time frame. We try and work with the owners to encourage them to do otherwise, but as you know, there is a property rights that they have the village to do.
Yeah, but I'm like,
Why don't we put a time frame in?
Well, the
Counselor
lesson,
Yankoff, that's fair, that's an eyesore right there.
well, the lesson learned is the Sherwood Greens and what happens when you leave a derelict property, right? I mean, those, you know, the
So
fire
if you wish-
inside and
Attorney, if you wish, we can explore whether or not we can put it in a time frame in.
I would think that'd be a good idea.
Because, Mr. Chair, I think there was an offer at one point in time, Councillor Duffy, to purchase some buildings down there.
Yeah.
We just weren't into
No, but I,
into buying assets that we
Yeah,
really need.
yeah.
good point, Councillor Yankoff, thank you. Any other questions for Scott on this one?
Very much.
No.
I think great work, Scott.
Great,
Thanks.
yeah.
It's a lot of work and a lot more to go too.
it's worth it though.
Yes, sir,
It's
yes.
an exciting project.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's,
to Wallace getting printed off like that. Thanks,
wow,
Wallace.
you're still doing things. You're
I'd
still
like
doing
to
things.
cover
I was
Wallace.
gonna give him a big thanks to him.
I'm sure look at some of these rooms, but you have to, Wallace is perhaps.
Okay, so, I guess we're at the portable event barricades, which is another great option.
Yeah, so this was brought to the committee in October, I believe, or September, sorry. And we were some concerns over the pricing, but we only had budgeted $75,000 for the purchase of this. So I went back to the supplier and looked at a few options. And so we kind of put together 4 options that are plausible for these. So option 1 again is they did come back and reduce their price. They were able to talk to the manufacturer who, again, is interested in getting this product up in this part of the country. And so they did offer a bit of a discount of $10,220 for all 4, or $2,550 per unit. So we could purchase all 4 units at $125,780 plus applicable taxes, option 1. Option 2, we could purchase 2 now in this fiscal year at $62.89, and then 2 in the future fiscal, or the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Option 3 is we could just purchase 2 kind of as a trial, make sure we like them, make sure they work for our needs. And this, so in terms of if we only had 2 units, what we would look at is using them at the Queen Street Grafton intersection when we had events on Queen Street, because that is the more concerning approach on University, or on Queen Street, sorry, when we have events, because individuals can drive right down Queen Street and put a barrel through it. Whereas coming up from University, from Water Street, we usually have it closed either at Water Street or one of the next blocks up. So, and there's not as much traffic as comes from Water Street up Queen Street. It's mostly the bulk of the traffic comes down Queen Street towards the water. So option 3 is just to purchase 2 units at this time, use them for a year or 2, and potentially make the commitment to buy 2 more later on if we are happy with how they work, and meet the needs of what we're trying to achieve here. And then option 4 is an option called rent-own. So the supplier doesn't typically do this, but they said they would be willing to look at options with the city for a rent-own. They are still drawing up, looking at what they would be comfortable doing as a rent-own program. Again, it's new to them. They don't typically do this, but they're kind of willing to work with the city because they're interested. They know we're interested in it, and they would like to help us out and get them here. So looking at the 4 options, I've looked at it, and looking at our budget and the recommendation, I think probably the best option is to go with option 3 and try them for a year or 2 with the commitment from the committee that if we're happy, we would look at purchasing additional 2 for the lower portion of Queen Street for events in a future budget year.
I
Four
agree
is,
with that.
oh, sorry, Counselor Duffy, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councillor Ramsey.
So 4 is all we need in total?
Four, yeah, so there are 8, so how many? Yes, I think there are 8, are they 4 meters each?
I think so.
No, they're more than that, 8 meters each, sorry, they're long sections.
But two would say cover grass and.
Yes,
stay off.
correct, yeah, so 4 units, with 2 at each end would be,
Right.
yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Duffy and Alana. So-
Oh, I was gonna say I would move a motion to buy 2 at a time.
Okay, and
I'm just wondering, would the company honor the same price if we bought 2 and then the following year bought the other 2? Or would we look at possible price going up?
well,
So-
I was just gonna say, well, if we buy them within the first year, but it might be 2 years or something, right, before we.
It depends on what level of commitment we're willing to give to them. They said if we purchased 2 this year and said today that we were willing to purchase 2 next fiscal, they would keep the same price.
Oh, well, then that kind of.
But if we wanted to wait a couple years, they don't have control of the market. They know steel prices, everything goes up every year, of course. And so they could not guarantee the price just because of the costing of the materials.
And just as a follow-up,
Sure.
could they give us some buffer that we get them?
Mhm.
We need to make sure that they're actually gonna be what the city needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then can they give us like a 6-month buffer to commit to the next year of them and get the same price?
I would have to check into that one. I'm not 100% sure on that.
And so, how portable are they?
So they're portable in the sense that 2 people can move them very easily because they're on casters. So essentially,
Right.
they're heavy because
They're
they're
all
not
heavy,
big, of
not
course.
heavy, yeah.
But essentially, there's a manual crank, and so the manual crank, 2 manual cranks on each of them. Sorry,
And you said-
and each of them control a set of casters. So you crank the casters down, it lifts the unit up, and then now 2 people can easily move them around the casters, no problem at all. Then you crank the casters back up, it sits down on its weight, and like I say, if you watch the videos, it'll move a foot if
if
a
you
car
want.
hits it at 9 kilometers an hour. Like they're very strong and they do what they're supposed to when they're connected together. So yeah, that's where the portable aspect
Okay.
comes from. Because that was one of the concerns from emergency services. If we had to get a fire truck down there, how can we get it down there?
Right, this is part of the problem.
And this is the option around it,
Right,
yes.
okay, cool, thank you very much. Any, so we do have a motion to go with option 3, moved by Councillor Duffy, we need a seconder.
I'll second
Moved, and seconded by Councillor Ramsey.
Just some discussion.
Yeah?
Scott, you did talk about, that we did discuss it back, temporary street barriers, right?
That's correct.
So at that time, it's from Bird Stairs, right?
Yes, bird series, so this would be.
And they're 136, but they come down if we buy the 4 of them, right?
No, so it came down on per unit price. So we will get the savings of $2,555 per unit. So now there would be 62, for 2 units, it'd be 62,890.
Great.
And I think that's the right process, is to buy 2, and like you said, we'll probably know within 6 months whether or not they're gonna work.
Because it's only Queen Street we're basically
Yeah.
looking at anyway.
Yeah.
The Farmers Day in the city and things like that.
Exactly, and we're having, every week now, there's the downtown, every Sunday is the
Yeah.
downtown Charlottetown, or
Correct.
downtown farmer market. So things like that, we're having more and more events on our street.
Right.
So that just increases the potential risk for something to
Okay.
happen. So
And are we gonna adopt, is there a policy about renting them out?
that will be part of the whole process
Yeah.
before next spring, before they ever get.
I know when you rent things
I
out.
don't think we'd ever
No.
want to rent them out.
They don't ever come back, right, the way that you like.
And we want to have the people trained to properly
Yeah.
adjust them and move them. And the only other option, and part of this too, the goal would be to, if during the week time, for instance, there's a big dig somewhere and they had to leave a hole open at night time, what they have to do now is try to either find a steel plate or just put barricades around it, which is never a great thing. But we could use these to block off any holes or excavation around the city
Right.
that were left due to construction.
Major
So we
construction.
can use them around the city during the week for other options. So we have some options.
Okay, good. So we have a motion and a
Yeah.
seconder for option 3. All those in favor?
All right.
Against? I see none.
Well, can you say there's a graphic example of one? I'm looking through the minutes, I couldn't find one. when you're gonna.
We can send you a photo of it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. Good for all of us to see, just to make sure. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
We do plan to look on wrapping one side of them, white with Charlottetown logo potentially.
Yeah.
Event, we'll have to have someone try to draw it up to make it fit properly on the thing, but we want to kind of make them aesthetically pleasing as you come down University Avenue, you see them, or Queen Street, sorry, you
Yeah.
see them, they look nice, they look pleasing and,
Yeah.
but
At the same time, has a purpose.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we at? So capital projects update.
Yes, so we have a number of capital projects that are currently wrapping up. Capitol Drive, so great news on that one. Asphalt was placed yesterday afternoon. Today they're working on guide rail and fencing. And then tomorrow morning, weather depending, the line striping will be reinstated, and tomorrow afternoon we will be opening back to traffic. So that's the goal. What's that, sir?
Opening Capitol Drive?
Yes, yeah. The goal is to have it open tomorrow. Again, weather depending, we're waiting. We hoping potentially do the lines today, but again, the weather hasn't been cooperative. It's got to be fairly dry.
Hey, Scott,
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Chair, can I just
Yes.
ask, I mentioned this to Mr. Kelly yesterday. When the traffic that was heading west into Charlottetown from Cornwall, there was at one point where vehicular traffic wasn't allowed to go down May Point.
Yeah.
And I told Mr. Kelly that, and this was brought to me, like by Bev McKenzie, Francis' daughter.
Yep.
And I think I brought it up to Wallace. Yes, I spoke to Wallace, and Wallace said, no, I don't think it was the intent, it was to have, how did that happen?
So because it is a provincial highway, we were directed by the province to open that up as they presented.
But who closed it?
So we closed it, our contractor, and the reason why is, we didn't want to deter people around Beach Road. It is not a trucking route, so we did not want to say you can go either option and get a whole bunch of trucks on Beach Road Road. So that's reason one. And reason two, we wanted to close one lane up because what had happened, and I saw it numerous times since we opened it, and thankfully no accident, but people tend to forget or not pay attention to signage as you approach an intersection. And what were happening was people that were on the inside lane that were supposed to go to May Point, they would bypass May Point, think they go down Capitol Drive. And then they come around the roundabout and they see the barricade from them. What they do is they cut the person off. And that was our biggest safety concern right there. Is
Well,
how
we
we
knew that was going to be a problem.
Yeah, what's that?
The province didn't think that was going to be a problem?
No, they were satisfied, their engineering team was satisfied that they would not have a problem.
Wow. That's like similar to, because it's two lanes going into the roundabout.
Right, and two
One
lanes
slips
coming
off the
out.
May Point, and the other inside can go to Capitol Drive around Upper
Correct,
Road. See, I always was thinking that it was just one lane going around there.
No,
Until I
it's
went
two-
around
it's-
it
it's
4
two
times,
until
and I
you
said,
get- yeah.
no, there's two lanes in it.
Yeah, it's two to go through.
But
the
it's
town.
signal-
Someone was telling me that there was only one
Yeah,
lane.
no.
If
Are
there-
you dizzy?
Yeah.
I didn't get one
Sure.
sure. I was gonna stop for a coffee, but I couldn't.
Just out of markers.
You were having fun.
I was told.
Yeah. So that's what happened there.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
If there was
Thank you.
a Tim Hortons there, you could have stopped.
You got it all. Nash Drive.
So Nash Drive, they've started grubbing, and we're just on hold right now, just waiting for all materials for water sewer, which we expect in the next week or so to get those connections all done before they rebuild the road bed. So because of the time of year, we are still unsure if there will be asphalt. We are hearing there might be an asphalt plant open on December 15th, because there are still, I guess, a couple projects somewhere in the province that need asphalt that time of year. One is the Hillsborough Bridge. So and that is supposed to be paved this December. So there is a chance if our contractor can get it all done, he can get it paved as well. So if not, we will leave a gravel for the winter. It's not a concern. We expect 1 to 2 vehicles of traffic a day to go over it. A few vehicles of traffic and plows to go over it, of course. But there's not going to be any extreme volume of traffic. So we will assign it accordingly to remind people it is gravel. But it will likely be gravel for the winter, and then we'll pave in the springtime.
Okay.
Pedestrian upgrade crossing, so Longworth Avenue, 1911 Jail, and Great George Fitzroy. All the earthwork and the infrastructure has been placed except for the lighting. That is coming. I have been told, I'm still waiting for an updated ETA, but the last I heard was middle to end of December. The big delay is the poles. There's not even a handful in North America that manufacture them. Usually ours come out of Quebec, out of a manufacturer there, and when you place the order, you're somewhere between 5 to 6 months from the order to get them. So yeah, it takes a while to get them. So we're still waiting to hear from that on where we are with that. And one thing, just like on the Great George Victoria, we are going to have them powder coated black,
Right.
so that
That's
we're
great.
trying to keep that nice historical look in the downtown
Okay.
core. So it will be very, I think, quite aesthetically pleasing as you come in. You'll see the nice black, but it'll be all lit up, of course. And
Yeah. So
Did you
question,
ship those to Moncton here? Oh, sorry.
no,
I believe the manufacturer can do them themselves.
In-house.
Yeah. But if not, it would be, yeah. we're really happy.
question along with, I have had some calls on the turning left
The turning.
options.
So we are working on, so I have our traffic signal consultant, he's been monitoring it, and he's been adjusting the timings. He's adjusted them twice now during the PM peak.
Yeah.
So we'll continue monitoring and make those.
And that's basically what I
Yeah.
told some calls, just, it's gotta be adjusted, yeah.
Exactly,
And-
exactly.
And when the lights come, it'll even make it a little more,
Yeah.
more of a finish to.
Yeah,
for
more
sure.
finish, more
And-
exactly, please. for
Because
sure.
there is a fair amount of queuing goes on there, even
They can, yeah, especially the PM peak
at
to go
4
left,
o'clock or
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
That's quite a word there, Councillor Bird, Councillor Doug.
Thank you. Another big word.
The next one, the new road, Towers Road Spencer. So we are.
When's that starting?
We're back from the contractor, so they're gonna do some preliminary work in the following couple of weeks, some ditch work, ordering some pipe, having that material all ready to go, so that in springtime, they're ready, hitting the ground running to finish it all off. And we also want to lock in the pricing for next spring. We don't know what it's gonna be like, and the pricing was quite well within our budget. It was actually under our engineer's estimate, so we were very pleased with the pricing. So,
And just to clarify, so, this was never a roadway,
No.
correct.
right?
Never.
It was never a
No,
roadway,
no.
so.
And we do
It's
not.
a roadway by default.
By default,
Yeah.
yeah. And what work was done was not done by us, it was done by
Correct.
them all to make, and thank, they're good enough to do that.
Yeah.
And make
They
it
just
have
wanted to
access.
eliminate that traffic cut
Exactly.
across the Cineplex, especially at nighttime.
Yeah.
It was dark, a lot of young
Yeah.
children and everything running and people flying
Right.
through there. It was
So,
a hazard.
did we get it from Rio Ken? Did
Yeah.
property transfer?
We
go through?
have the
There's a couple of
paperwork.
bugs
yeah.
there.
We have the paperwork, we're waiting on the final.
But it's still owned by Rio Ken.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fix it up before we take it over. They're right.
That's gonna be part of the work.
They will maintain, for the interim, they were still responsible
Yeah.
for it, Your Worship. And until we take it over, when all the paperwork is complete, they have to maintain it.
Well, maintain it, I'll tell you what, don't go there with a record because it will end up in one of the holes.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest, I've talked to Mr. Kelly about this morning, I think you should do a bit of a press release to Dave Stewart on this issue, saying the reason it is like it is we don't own it and we
Yeah.
can't do anything with it till we do own it. Because we're taking a lot of bad
Yeah.
flack
I did-
for the large pothole.
I
The
did
dog,
talk to
one
him
dog's
yesterday.
still missing.
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah, I did talk to him
Missing
yesterday,
dog.
I
And that we're
thought I
clear
would have
that
seen
it's not a
something
road.
in the
Yeah.
paper today,
It's
but I
not a
didn't,
road.
but
And
I
it's
will
not a
call him
road.
again
It's
this
not a
afternoon.
road.
Yeah,
And some call it-
and that's when I was a little
We have to let
surprised by
people
the
know.
discussion when the resolution
You know.
came here
Definitely.
the other night,
Mhm.
is that it's a street. No, it's not a street. It's never a street.
No, it's never a street.
We're turning it into a
We're
street.
gonna,
And,
there's a difference between taking over a road and a parking lot.
and a driveway.
Or a parking lot.
Yeah, well, actually, we're driving through a parking lot.
Yeah, we're driving through a parking lot.
Yeah,
But
we were
if
actually
we put
causing
in-
the issue for the mall essentially because we had a city road, Towers Road, that dumps
Yeah.
a whole bunch of traffic into a
Yeah.
parking
Yeah.
lot.
But I would encourage, though, in the meantime, till all the paperwork is completed, if there's some way we can keep those holes filled with something.
Yes, and we've been in talks with the.
I went over it last night with my truck and, I wouldn't want to be a small car going
No.
through there and not knowing.
You wanna don't.
Just your smart car.
Oh, yeah, you'd lose your
Because you were
smart,
fine until the spring,
a
wasn't you?
smart car would,
Drive the big Ram now, 4x4 Ram.
a smart car would
It's a
just
Ford.
disappear.
I don't know. When I pull home in my driveway, I don't bring it
That
down
smart
there.
car is so smart. it
Cost
disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, free
Okay,
There's no
so,
spaces.
anyway,
Okay.
we'll move
Next.
on. Thank you, Scott. Sidewalks.
And the sidewalk, so we have one area left to finish. We're finishing up Johnson, I guess. I think
Looks
it's done
good.
now.
Looks
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Who come up with that idea?
Never mind.
So we finished Johnson, and the last remaining section of sidewalk to do is North River Road. And that was what the resolution came for, is the final.
That's what we talked about the other day.
Yes, correct.
And that's just going out to, it's gonna connect to the other one, Scott?
So.
Down from Abby's apartments?
So no, it's replacing the existing sidewalk in front of the Hermitage Street.
Right.
So we're raising that up because it's about 2-3 feet lower than the road.
Right.
So we have safety concerns about drivers driving off that edge.
Yes.
And if we have pedestrians down there, it's never a great thing. But we also have operational issues with that. Water, snow, everything pools down there,
Yes.
freezes, and I remember last year, I think we had about 10 inches of ice that we just,
Oh, yeah.
we struggled to break. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of things to improve that and make it safer, as well as that fence is falling over, so that fence is gonna be all replaced as part of the.
So that's gonna be started this week, is
This
it?
week, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I expected them today, but I haven't heard that they're out there yet, so probably tomorrow, we'll see.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it should have very minimal impact of traffic. There's enough right of way to stay off the roadway. There might be some intermittent stop and go traffic from time to time just for trucks in and out, but we advise them that it can't be during peak hours either, so.
Right.
Everything's off the right way, so we
Excellent.
shouldn't have too many concerns there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Scott, on capital projects. 6.5 would be the winter operations update, very well needed, with, like you say, with the new staff, so.
Yeah.
No, this weather.
Yeah, let's keep it this way.
It's a great start to our budget year, or winter budget. But no, so yeah, so that's what I want to do, is have this kind of information piece, and this is kind of a document I hope to start keep updating. And so that we essentially share with the public, share with other future councils, and update as we change our operations. So we just wanted to kind of give you a summary of what we do in terms of equipment and staffing. So right now, we operate under the assumption that we have 9 individual solver plow routes. And when I say 9, that means just what our city trucks do, not contractors. So the next little bit is just what we do. So we have 9 salt plow routes, and we have assigned vehicles to those specific routes. And to service those routes this year, we have 7 loaders that are all equipped with front plow blades, and then we have 6 salt plow trucks, so combination units that are fully operational. 3 of them are less than 1 year old now, and then we also have a brand new one that's being built in Moncton right now, and I think we expect it to be here in January.
So
we'll
we shouldn't have any breakdowns.
Well, you still get breakdowns.
Oh, I know.
Unfortunately. It's
They're
dump trucks. They're a rugged truck for sure, but it is hardened equipment.
Yeah.
It is
Oh,
plowing
yeah.
snow, and it is awfully hardened equipment. So that's why we keep our mechanics very busy all winter long. We also have 4 loader-mounted industrial snow blowers that we use, and they're geared up on our plow trucks, and they can be switched in and out very easily, very quickly. All our trucks are equipped with what we call a pre-wet system. So what pre-wet does, so when we place dry salt, for instance, so dry salt, there's 2 issues with dry salt. One is bounce. So you probably see a bounce. You can lose up to 30% of your salt to the side of the road, because it just bounced. So it's huge loss there. Also, salt needs moisture to start its reaction. So if it's a colder day, there's not much moisture around, so it takes a lot longer for it to start to activate. So what we do now, we equip all our trucks with what we call a pre-wet system. So the salt comes out of the dump box onto what we call a spinner, and as it drops onto the spinner, it's sprayed with salt brine. So it's about, I think it's 30% salt, 70% water, diluted. We spray that on the salt, so instantly a chemical reaction starting. So now and because it's got water, it sticks better to the road. So now we go from about a 30% loss to, I think it's about a 5% loss. So now we're saving money, more salt's actually going on the road versus flinging off the side. And the chemical reaction's already starting. So you should see melting much quicker, much sooner than what you would see before. Now, again, it depends on how cold it is. Dry salt usually works until about -10. Once it's -10, not really effective. It will do a little bit, but not much. When you spray it with brine, because you have that moisture already and it's starting a chemical reaction, you can get it to work it down about -13. So it helps. So it's pre-wetting. It's a very inexpensive system, but saves you a lot of money in the long run and makes your clean up a road much quicker. So anyway, all our trucks are equipped with that. And we will be enforcing that to be used this year by all our operators. We've gone through a big training session with them. There's a lot for them to learn on it, but we're teaching them and going and trying to make it as simple as we can for them.
So we don't do sand at all anymore, Scott?
We don't do sand.
When did we stop that?
Before my time. Yeah, before my time.
Is there a reason for that, or?
It's dirty.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, there's some dirtiness. It's
Hard on equipment.
it's hard. It's hard on our stormwater system actually. That's one of the biggest ones.
Okay.
That's a lot of sand, the place, and where does it go? It goes down to your storm drains, and so it just collects. So it does harden your storm drains, so that you have to clean them out more often now. And the effectiveness of them, it's kind of hit or miss. Like if salt or sand, it depends what sand you're using too. So the province, they stock 2 piles of sand. Something's made locally, something's made from Nova Scotia. The local stuff is very fine. It clogs up our spinners and augers. And because it's so fine, it blows off. It doesn't get compacted in, so it's not effective. And then the Nova Scotia stuff, it's more expensive to bring over, of course, and it's more coarse. It's a byproduct of when they crush rock, and so that works a little bit better. But again,
Caution, we do use that FDB.
Yes, yeah.
On ice conditions, so we
Yeah.
don't stop altogether.
No.
It is required, we will continue to use it, but it's not our preferred approach.
It's rare that we've used it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No, that just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Popped right out again.
And also this year, we have purchased what we call an anti-icing system. And so what this is a large tank with a spray bar on it. It sits in one of our 1-ton trucks, and it allows us to apply direct liquid application to the road. So it's pure salt brine on the road ahead of a storm. And how it's quite effective, and what it helps do is when you drive down the road, you like seeing, how everyone's like, oh, that whiteness on the road, we don't want to see that because it makes the car dirty. Well, from a snow clearing perspective, it's very good to have that white film on the road, because that's your salt. Is a residual on the road that when you start getting moisture, then that helps keep that bond between the asphalt and the ice forming. So when your road doesn't have that white powder, we will spray it with the liquid brine to get that salt base down before the snow falls. So you usually spray it a few hours before you get a snowfall, and so that really helps with breaking that bond. And so essentially when we plow, you know how you get like those wheeled tracks where you get a really thick snowpack there, that should easily peel off now. So that's the goal. It is a learning curve. It depends on the type of precipitation you get, the temperature you're applying. So Joey has taken a lot of courses, been learning on how to use it properly, so he's going to be kind of leading that charge this year. We don't use it in every snowstorm, of course, but we use it in very particular snowstorms. So we're going to be trialing that on some roads this year to see the effectiveness of it, to learn ourselves on how to use it better, and to apply it more widespread. And again, it gives us a better service level while reducing costs. It's a lot cheaper to spread salt brine versus salt. So that's another option we're using this year. And then down to some routes that we have. So city has 13 sidewalk routes is what we call them, and 1 route for paved pathways. And we have all our sidewalk machines for clearing these routes are 3 years or younger. But we also have a number of spare older units that we can put in service. These machines, sidewalks are really hard on these machines. They are very durable machines, but whole things like people throw out trash. Trash days are the worst because half the time something gets pushed into the sidewalk and our machine blows up or tears apart a bag or some metal. We've had metal in them before. So anyway, we do have a number of spare units that are already ready to go for this year. And so some numbers. So city sidewalks, so we clear approximately 95 kilometers of sidewalk in the city. And then combine our trucks plow about 150 kilometers of roadway. Then our contractors, Chapman Brothers, Matheson Construction, each plow about 68 kilometers. And Chapman Brothers do kind of Sherwood East Royalty, and Chapman Brothers kind of do, or sorry, Matheson's do Lewis Point, West Royalty, Winslow for us. And then the province does about 27 kilometers of road, and they do some of our main thoroughfares, so Brackley Point, Mount Everett, St. Peter's Road, and a few others around those areas. We take care of University Avenue ourselves, that's our biggest one, and we share Capitol Drive.
With the province?
With the province, yeah, because Capitol Drive, the province comes down from the roundabout down to North River Road,
Right.
Capitol. That's where they kind of stop plowing. However, for them to turn around, they have to go all the way to Spencer and come back.
Right.
So if they're there before us, they'll plow Capitol. If we're there before them, we plow Capitol. So we kind of share that one. That's how it works. Just depends on where you can turn around.
And Scott, we don't have salt shed facilities for the city.
No.
So we get our salt from the province.
Correct, out of the Brackley Point Depot.
And what's the cost per year? Is that, are we still on a agreement that we had back since 2003?
We paid whatever they get. There's no, I don't believe there's any markup. They essentially just pay us. We pay them per ton of salt, and it's based on their unit
What they
price.
pay.
Yep. Yes.
And can we collect our brine out there too?
Yes. Yep. They have a brine making system that we piggyback on and use. Yeah.
Thank you.
And a note, I guess, just a note too, with the GPS systems, we know exactly how many loads we're getting and
Yep.
know where the loads are going.
Everything's digital. Yeah.
Spreading and
Yeah.
you can't be doing something else with it.
Mm-hmm. And just in terms of staffing, so we're now in winter operation mode at Public Works, so that means our superintendents, we have someone on 24/7 now. So they work a rotating schedule between November 29th and April 3rd. So that in mind, if you have any concerns in operations, either call myself or Joey, as we're always in during the day, but the superintendents change daily. And our dispatch and duty crew are staffed 24/7 now, and we also have a number of seasonal staff that are on a rotating schedule, so that we get evening and overnight coverage every night of the day, every night of the winter season.
So with a question on that, Scott, so if residents call us on the weekend, what's the preferred process as far as, do you want us to go directly to duty crews, or would you prefer to go with
If-
supervisor? Or?
If the ideal way is to send an email, how to go
Or
Joey
phone,
or
yeah.
myself on it. The easiest way would be send an email Joey or myself, or
Okay.
copy both of us on it.
Yeah.
And usually Joey and I will, if Joey's busy, I'll dole it out to whoever
Yeah.
the superintendent is on duty, or vice versa.
Yeah, okay. So
If it's,
Okay.
if it's just like a, there's a dead skunk on the road,
yeah,
you can call dispatch.
Yeah.
It's called a dispatch, but if it's something operational, more than just picking up something.
Yeah,
like
something
that we would
like that.
typically do.
Okay.
Yeah, just email Joe and myself, and we will make sure it gets sent out to the staff.
Great.
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair, just on that
Yeah.
last part,
Yep.
I just wanted to follow up. Scott, you have there that we have seasonal that are on rotating, rotating shifts.
Correct.
So if you have an ESL,
ELS, yeah.
ELS, who has a class 3,
Mhm.
do you bump that person up to help out with,
So we have,
Right, or do you
so
just-
I guess when I say seasonals in this context.
You're
we
using
mean-
both?
We mean both, yes, correct, yep, yep.
and going forward, we're respecting the seniority of our seasonals,
Oh, yes, yeah, we follow the collective agreement on who goes where, and.
and we're keeping that agreement in
Okay.
place
Of
going
course,
forward.
Yeah.
Good, thank you very much. Any questions for Scott?
No,
I just have one more thing, in wing number 7, because I wanted to bring something up under new business.
Oh, okay, we'll probably win the
Oh, is
close.
that the other issue?
No, this is open.
Yeah.
This is open
So-
discussion.
Okay,
This
so,
isn't secret.
Could I just follow up
No.
on something with Mr.
No.
Adams?
yes,
Just trying to find out, you brought it up, the
Yeah.
APL tender?
Mhm. It's up to finance, I expect it's out today.
Oh,
This
okay.
afternoon, yes. I got an email from Connie this morning, she had one last question for me, and,
and I did see your response back to them too, right, you sent some.
oh, yes, perfect.
Yes, you sent an email later this morning, so
Yeah.
so they know. So I guess my question before we do anything is, so do we want to go to new business first and open? Yes, okay. So if there's no other thing to talk about on reports, we'll move into introduction of new business, and Alana.
I already talked to Mr. Adams about this prior to the meeting, but I just thought I should just do it here in open forum in case any of my residents are listening. The lights on going down on Brighton Road have been out, and it's very dark for residents when they're walking, and I know it affects both Councillor Duffy and myself. But Mr. Adams says that they are working on them, that right now they're on the summer hour timers, so they're working at getting them switched over, and then they'll be more activated by solar versus timing. So I just wanted to thank Scott for quickly sorting that out.
I went to Mo first. Mo took care. Mo Carmichael.
I went to both Mr. Adams and Joey McKinnon last night, and they both were Johnny on the spot.
No, Mo's
That's why
already
you-
taken care of.
that's why you need to go to Mo.
No, some credit to us.
Thank you, Mo.
Okay, let's go.
I think it's all
Another
right.
3 hours.
I checked in with Johnny Blanchard.
See, all of us were reaching out. But I know, Councillor Duffy, that going down the Forby Kennedy Way
From
into the
Goodwill
park,
there.
those lights are not working properly.
Yeah.
So
I think they're all connected.
Dean Worth is checking into it.
I think
So
every
thanks again,
second,
Mo.
Okay.
every second
so-
resident of Brighton Road. is
Thanks to
right.
everybody.
Thanks to
Yeah.
the world.
Everybody did your job, Alana.
Okay, so, nothing else in new business? Okay, we'll, I'll ask for a motion to move into closed session
I'll move it.
as per 119 B.
Yes.
Okay, moved by Council Ramsey, second by the Mayor
Yeah.
Brown.
There.
The Mayor Brown.